Yeah, hello. This is Satya Prakash Tripathi, and this is my fifth video on entity framework code first approach. So in today's session, we are going to discuss on the in, on the inheritance strategies in the entity framework code first approach. So as of now, we have seen that for each entity class, the entity framework creates a database table in the database. So so but the things are bit different when you start working with inheritance, and the reason being that in the object oriented programming world, uh, it includes relationships like has a relationship and is a relationship. Now unfortunately, in the relational database, there is only the has a relationship. Okay, it does not include the it does not include the is a relationship. Okay, and hence okay, and hence when you start working with inheritance, you have to specifically specify that which class is getting mapped to which table. So in the entity framework, there are in the entity framework there are these three strategies. The first one is their table per hierarchy. Now this is the default one basically. So in the table per hierarchy, the entity framework, it creates just one table for the entire hierarchy. The second one is the table per type, and in this case the entity framework, it creates a table for each entity class. And the third one is the table per concrete class. And in this scenario, the entity framework, it creates table for each concrete class. Now in this session, we would specifically discuss on the table per hierarchy. So let's get started and start writing some code. So in this case, I've already created the solution, and I've added this console application. Now the entity framework DLLs have already been added. Okay, now before starting, I would request everyone to just go through my previous videos. I've already I've already discussed about the migrations, okay, and how to create the DB context class and everything. Okay, so here I've okay, let me just clear off these things. I was just writing I was writing few lines of of code here. So now what we would do is, see, I've just created this contact. I've just created this contact class file. Now, like here, I would just create a public abstract class contact, and I would create a class called email, and this would inherit from that contact class. Okay, and I would also like create one more class called cellular, and this would again inherit from the contact class. So just a minute. I have already written few pieces of code so that I don't take much time here. So in the contact class, okay, I have added these properties: the contact ID, the address, the city, the country, and the zip. And this one is the primary property, and in the table it would become the primary key. Okay. For the cellular, I would add these two properties. And in the email, I would add these two properties. Now in the cellular class, you would see that their mobile is an integer, and there is a reason behind that, and I would explain it later. Okay, so this is done. I would create the DB context class. So let me just write contact DB context. There's a small problem, I guess, but it should get added. Okay. Public class. This would inherit from DB context. Let me add the namespace here, system.data.entity, and for the contact, okay. So now I would add a property that would return me the DB set of contact, and let's name it as contact info, get, and the set. Okay. So all these things are done. Let me just build the code. Now in that package manager console, let me just clear these things off. Okay, in the package manager console, let me just type in enable migrations, and this command, it would create a migrations folder, and like this would have that configuration class. So as already like said that I have like discussed about these things in my previous videos, and hence request you all to just have a look. Okay, so like this is done, and here I would add a small piece of code so as to just inject few records when the database when the database initializes. So let me type in context dot contact info add okay, so I would add new email I would add the address, and as you can see that all these properties are coming from the contact abstract class. Address, city, the contact okay, not this, because this is an identity column. Okay, now the country 1, office email, test@office.com, personal email test@personal.com, and finally the zip 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, so I would add one more entry here, and I've already like written that code. I would just copy that. Let me scroll up. So let me just copy it. Okay, so in the first case I'm adding their email object, and in the second case I'm adding their cellular object. Let me just build it again. In the package manager console, let's write add migration. It would ask me for the file name. Let me just type in contact db schema 1, and as you would see that this would create one more file here. It's taking some time. Okay, so the scaffolding is done. Let's created one more file here. Okay, now let me just go to the database. It already has this database, and like let me like remove it. Close the existing connections. Okay, so it's deleted, and if you like search for this, you It's not there. Okay. Okay, and in the app.config file, let me just add the connection string. Oops, just a minute. Okay, so let me just add it here. And finally, let me refresh the database and show you that's not there anymore. Okay, now in the connection string I have mentioned that when the database gets created, its name should be my test database. Now let's go to that package manager console and type in update database hyphen verbose. Okay, so let's hit enter and see. So now this should create database. Let's refresh it. Okay, so it's created, and here you see that there is this contacts table and it has these columns. Now as I had said that in the type per hierarchy, there is just one table for the entire hierarchy. So like this contacts table, it has all the columns which correspond to the properties of each class, of the abstract class, of that email class, and that and the cellular class as well. And if I just write in this query, it would show me, so it has these two records here. So that first one, it has the email. It has that personal email, the office email, but it does not have their mobile and their office phone. The second record, it has their mobile and their office phone, but it does not have their personal email, okay, and that office and the office email as well. Now there is something interesting here. There is an extra column that has been added by that entity framework itself, and it's called the discriminator, and that values the values that you can see here, they just correspond to your class names. So like you had the email class, and you had that cellular class as well. So like this column, it is used to identify it is used to identify each record. It is used to identify each record uh, with respect to the implementation classes that I had created. Okay. Now finally, let's go to that code. Just a second. Okay. Okay. Let's go to this code. And I have a small piece of code here. Okay. So now, so in that program class, what I have done is that I have created the object of that contact db context class. Now there are three things here. In the first one, I am getting that contact info. Now in the second case, fine, let me just write it for you. So I guess that would be like easy. Okay, so here I'm saying all contacts, and I would say contact context dot contact info to list, and it would return me that list of contacts. Then I would have one more list here, which is the email contacts, and this would have only their email contacts. So contact info dot of type, so let me say email, and finally I would have one more list here, and this would have the cellular contacts, Okay, just one thing. Okay, yeah. I think there's a small problem here. Just a second. Email to list. This should work, I guess. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. It should be email here. Really sorry for that. Finally, context dot contact info of type this would be cellular to list. So this is done, and now let's execute this code. Okay, so like here you can see that the first one has these two entries here, and the first one is the email, is the email object, and the second one is the cellular object. Let me show you again. Okay, the second one, the email contacts, it has just their email, it has just the email object here. The third one, it has only the cellular object here, and you can see that, yeah, you can see that the discriminator column is not here. Yeah, it was not like part of the classes. Okay, now finally I would say like few things about the problems with this approach. See, the first problem is that there is no normalization here. All that columns have been included in just one single table. The second problem here is that, as I had said, in my cellular class, just a second here. Okay, so yeah, so like here I had said that that mobile is an integer type, and it's not nullable. So like ideally in the database table, it should have been like it should have been like not null. But if you can see here that it is null. Okay, and the reason being that like this table stores their records for both their emails and the cellular contacts. So in this first record, when I'm inserting that emails, there is no mobile or that office phone, and hence it has to be hence it has to be like it has to be like nullable. But again, this does not correspond to my data type in this class. So like this is the second problem here. Now today in this session we have discussed about the table per hierarchy. Now the rest of these in the table per type and the table per concrete class, it will be like discussed in our later videos. So like thanks for watching, and bye.